Hey folks, I wanted to do a video talking about the roadmap for Cortex. Um, and the reason for talking about the roadmap will become clear in just a little bit. Um, but aside from that, I don't think I've done a true roadmap video. I want to talk about specific versions of Cortex that have been released, will be released, um, and kind of how I'm structuring the plans for features that I'm going to be releasing over the next couple versions, uh, and why you might want to be aware of those versions and download them when they come out. Um, and also, I'll talk a little bit about why, even if you're excited for a future feature, you shouldn't wait. You should still download the latest version of Cortex, get that running, and get things going on that perspective. But let me. I don't have a demo today, but I do have some slides, and we'll switch over to those. So, like I said, we're going to talk roadmap. So I've been working on Cortex. Let's not stand behind the slides. I've been working on Cortex for about 6 months now, and I've been releasing new versions from the very beginning. I started, I think, even before I released a version that you could download. I was releasing versions to the demo site that I showed in these videos. Um, and that's something that I want to keep doing. Every time I make a change, it's going to show up on the demo site. But at the same time, Cortex, at least in its current form, is not a SaaS product. Ultimately, it will have to be something that you can download and run on your own systems, or I download onto a system, set it up for you, or one of our partners sets it up, configures it, installs it, all that good stuff. So this latest version, actually, I'll let the cat out of the bag. We're releasing a new version. Cortex 1.3 is now released. Um, but it's been a while since I released a version. So Cortex 1.2, I feel like it was ages ago. It was probably only 2 or 3 months ago, but still, it feels like a long time. And I don't want to have months and months and months go by before I release another version again. Um, so my plan is basically to continue releasing new versions to the demo site every time there's a change. That'll happen automatically. There'll be new videos about that, um, and it'll go into the documentation site as well. Maybe not live right away. For this version specifically, I've held back the documentation that goes with the version so that I can release both of them at the same time. So the documentation site has also been updated with all of the authentication magic that I've been talking about in the last few videos. But I don't want to be demoing stuff in these videos that you're not going to see on your own systems for several months. So I don't know uh, exactly if I'll do like a new version every 2 weeks or every month or every 2 months or something like that. But I will promise that it won't be several months before a new version comes out. So with that being said, I just want to recap some of the versions that I've already put out and talk about this new version that we've just released, and the upcoming versions that we have planned, and then start getting into some of the other things that we're exploring and thinking about. So let's talk about 1.0. Obviously, you have to start somewhere. And when I released 1.0, it was basically a proof of concept. Could I mean, I knew the answer was yes, but I wanted to prove it to myself and all of you uh, in video form. I wanted to actually have code that would read the database and present uh, business object data in a web format. So check that off. 1.0 was released. I don't know, many months ago. I feel like that was pretty much right away. Um, and then we got to 1.1, and I added grids and forms. 1.2 brought us ad hoc search. So initially it was just browse a business object, pick a business object, and then you could drill into a record from there. 1.2 brought us the ability to search and filter, apply filters so you could get to a specific business object record. Now, I mentioned there's a new version, 1.3. So what all is in version 1.3? Well, two things: authentication and security groups. So authentication, we are supporting uh, SAML, and that's pretty much the only thing that we're supporting that Cherwell provides. We don't support LDAP, we don't support Windows authentication, we don't have a concept of internal authentication. And actually, we can't support Cherwell's internal authentication because that's encrypted using some magic that's not public. So we support SAML authentication, and I have a system that I've been setting up that I'm using SAML for. So I have set up Cherwell to use SAML, and I'm going to set up Cortex to use the exact same SAML configuration. I might actually use OpenID Connect for the Cortex side, but it's using the same um, authentication provider. They're both using Keycloak. So when it comes to SAML, we do support ADFS, which is the format supported by Cherwell, or the system supported by Cherwell. Cherwell also supports Shibboleth, um, and because there's enough similarity between the two systems, Cortex should also support Shibboleth as well. Um, Cortex definitely supports authentication uh, using Keycloak, using SAML with Keycloak, in addition to supporting using Keycloak with OpenID Connect. Um, for OpenID Connect, the theory anyway is that anything that speaks OpenID Connect should be supported by Cortex. We officially only support Keycloak, um, but I can't say enough good things about Keycloak. If you're not already using Keycloak, I highly recommend it. Very few organizations in the world, um, I expect, would have security issues with Keycloak. It's open source. It's vetted by the security community, and I've worked with several high security organizations that have used Keycloak. That's actually where I first learned about it. Was in an organization that has security restrictions. So that's authentication. Now, security groups is basically the same security group support that you have in Cherwell. In Cherwell, you basically have a user account mapped to a security group. Cortex picks that up from the database and uses the security group to determine which business objects you have the ability to read. It only pays attention to read permissions, and it uses any relevant security filtering to show specific records. So if, let's say, for instance, a particular user is part of a security group that only allows incidents that they are assigned to or are the owner of. Just making this up on the fly. Um, Cortex will pick that up and only show them the records that they're allowed to see. Basically, what this means is that whatever your security configuration was with Cherwell, it will transfer over to Cortex. You don't have to do any additional configuration to make that work. Everybody who had access to Cherwell will still be able to log into Cortex and see all the same records that they could see in Cherwell, and obviously no additional records that they're not supposed to see. All right, so that covers versions that have been released. So what's on the roadmap? What's next? Obviously 1.4. There's going to be a 1.4, and 1.4 is going to come with basically additional export options. Um, and also some additional search options, most likely. But the primary focus is on export options. So we're still working on getting feedback from customers on exactly how that's going to look. So shameless plug. If you have opinions, definitely let us know. There's information in the video description. You can talk to me and share with us all of your opinions on how you'd like to see the data formatted for export. We do support a CSV export of grids, and if you print the web page or take a screenshot, um, that works well enough. Obviously, attachments can be downloaded directly from the business object form. But if you have other ideas of things we can do there, we've got a few that we're gonna put together. But if you have something specific, if you have a specific need, let us know, and we'll evaluate it, and possibly you'll see it in version 1.4. Now, Cortex will always exist in some form as an archive tool. And so even after 1.4, I can promise you that there's going to be a 1.5 with something. All of our roadmap is driven by your needs, whether you tell us your needs or whether you talk about things that you're looking to do with Cortex or at your organization, and we start building tools that help you do that. So 1.5 will have something related to archive, audit, compliance, data retention, and we'll continue to iterate on that for as long as there's a need, and as long as we haven't built out the things that people need from it. So Cortex 1.x will continue to live on and be its own thing, even if we start exploring other ways to provide value. Which kind of brings us to the next part of this conversation, which is eventually there's going to be a 2.0. And we have a couple things we're playing around with because ultimately we know that your shareable data, it, it it's going to go away eventually, even if you're using it for just historical lookup. Um, right? Obviously, with data retention policies, like data retention policies end, after 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, whatever your time frame is, you don't really need Cortex anymore. Um, and even if you're just using it for historical lookup, eventually you'll get to a point where you're not using it anymore. And I totally get that. We don't want you to be using a tool or maintaining, paying for a tool that you're not really making use of. So 2.0 will start to explore kind of that what's next. We do have a few things kind of in the back of our minds, and we're not going to let the cat out of the bag on that just yet. But I will mention that 2.0 and 3.0 are actually in active development right now. Not in earnest, but kind of some proof of concept things, some exploratory projects. We're looking at things that we can add on to the foundation that we've built with Cortex. And if you've talked to me in the last few months, or if you've been around the Shareable community for any length of time, you might have an inkling of what we've got up our sleeves. But 2.0 and 3.0, we're pretty excited about, and obviously that's going to carry us. We're talking the next couple of years of product roadmap at this point. We're 100% focused on the 1.x line for most of 2024. And realistically, our goal is building that community around Cortex 1.x. At this point, 1.3 and beyond. Everybody will be on 1.3 or a later version. And once we have that community built, we're going to start looking for what other things are missing from that you know and love from Sharewell. So I don't want to give away too much um, because I want to leave some of the mystery, some of the intrigue. Um, but I'm always up for a conversation, and I'm always up to hear your thoughts because truly 1.5, 2.0, 3.0 are going to be driven by your needs. We're not going to build something that just, is fun for us. I mean, it is fun for us. We enjoy building things. Um, but it's it's not just going to be something that we build just because it's fun for us. We really want to make a difference for you, for your organization, uh, and we want to make sure that whatever we build solves a problem that you're having, and fills in those gaps that we know exist. So let's talk about those. Let's explore that space together. Um, that's basically all I had for the roadmap presentation. If you have other questions, feel free to leave them down in the comments below. Like the video. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. Um, Everything that I talked about today will be in a video coming out soon if it hasn't already been in a video on the channel. So make sure you're subscribed so you get all those good notifications and learn about all the cool stuff. Um, like I said before, there's links in the description to talk to me, to book some time on my schedule. There's also links to documentation and the demo site and a bunch of good stuff related to Cortex. So check out those links down below. And yeah, I'll see you next week.